Welcome, everybody. I hope you're all doing good today. Welcome to our Startup Women's Industry Advisory Circle for Women in Food and Beverage. I am Miriam Wetch, the program lead for Startup Women and Startup Global here at Startup Canada. To begin, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge that the land on which I am on today is located on the unceded and traditional territories of the Mi'kmaq, Wolastoqiyik, and Wabanaki nations. I also acknowledge with respect the diverse histories and cultures of all Indigenous peoples. And I encourage you to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional territory that you are residing on today. Today's session is being recorded and it will be added to our resource guide along with any resources that are shared during today's session. So Startup Canada is a national nonprofit that is the gateway to Canada's entrepreneurial ecosystem. We're here to connect entrepreneurs with the support, community, and tools that they need to build a successful business here in Canada. Since launching in 2012, Startup Canada has grown to support more than 130,000 entrepreneurs annually and an ever-growing community of ecosystem partners from coast to coast to coast. And dedicated to showing up for women all year round, Startup Women is an annual program offering support for early stage women identifying entrepreneurs across Canada through some topic focused webinars, industry advisory circles like today's, and meetings with Startup Women leaders. We know that when you support women, you support a nation. These monthly industry advisory circles will provide attendees with a deeper understanding of trends and best practices in their sector, and will leave with actionable takeaways and resources that they can implement into their business. We also have a short message from our co-presenting partner, the Scotiabank Women Initiative, that we'll play in a moment here.
The Scotiabank Women Initiative is dedicated to your success on your terms.
I'm shaping our industry's vision for the future.
I can expand my business without borrowing from my family.
I know I can face anything, thanks to my network.
I'm ready for my next chapter.
I'm inspiring future leaders.
I'm making sure my family's future is secure.
Define your success, and we'll help you achieve it. With unbiased access to capital and tailored solutions, bespoke specialized education, and holistic advisory services and mentorship. Join our community of women today, the Scotiabank Women Initiative.
Amazing. Thank you, Isabel, for sharing that video. And I would also like to thank our other co-presenting partner, UPS, our program partners, EDC, Mastercard, and YSpace Ella, and our community of ecosystem partners that will, I think we've just shared a full list into the chat. All right, so today's session is for women in food and beverage. We're very excited to dive into this discussion. I know there's quite a few participants already in the room, so it's nice to see your faces for those that are on camera. So I'm just going to walk you quickly through what the next 2 hours or so will look like. So in a moment, I'll call on each of you that have your camera on for some attendee introductions. So if you do have your camera on, I'll assume that you're comfortable introducing yourself, and I'll call upon each of you one by one so that we can learn a little bit more about you. You can let us know your name, where you're located, and a quick sentence or two about your business and what you're looking forward to learning more about today. And also definitely feel free to use the chat to network as well, add in your LinkedIn profiles so that you can stay connected after today's session as well. Then we'll move on to our 2 expert talks. That'll be 3 to 5 minutes each from our guest speakers. So we have 2. And then after that, we'll begin our panel discussion where I'll pass it over to Isabel, our moderator. And this will last about an hour. And then lastly, our last segment of the day is the networking breakout rooms. So this lasts about 25 to 30 minutes at the end of the session. I'll be putting each of you in a breakout room. So we'll have hopefully around 3 to 4 people per room. This is really a time for you to network amongst each other. We can definitely give a question to act as an icebreaker when we head into these later on, but you're free to use this time as you like. This will last, about 25-30 minutes, and then we definitely encourage you to stick around for this segment. It's always nice to get to network amongst each other, and you never know what can come from a conversation. All right, so let me move on to attendee intros. First up, I see, is it Heinz Lip? And you can just unmute yourself, sorry. I should have mentioned that. Oh, you're just on mute, sorry. There we go. Perfect. How's it going?
My name is Lucy, by the way. That's Heinz is my husband. I'm
I-
using his account.
Sounds good, thank you.
Okay, I'm a newbie. I just heard of this platform 2 days ago, believe it or not. So this is my first session with you. I'm hoping to open I'm newly retired and I'm hoping to open a fun way to make myself useful to the community, as well as a fun way of making a little bit of money to support my retirement. So I thought of doing a gelato, opening up a gelato business, but it's a lot more geared towards adult sophisticated palates. So I'll be looking at infusing fruits with alcohol and so forth and so on. And it's more adult gelato than anything else.
That sounds amazing. Thank you so
Mhm.
much. That was Lizzie, right?
Lucy, yes.
Nice to meet you. Amazing. And for those that are just joining, if you're comfortable to be on camera, we're just doing some attendee introductions right now. So you can let us know your name, where you're coming from today, and what you're looking forward to learning today, and a little bit about your business if you'd like. Next up, I have someone whose name is just YK. I'm not sure if your camera's on or if it's just a glitch. So let me know if you'd like to introduce yourself. You can unmute yourself. And maybe not. So I'll pass it over to Karen next.
Is that me?
Yeah, perfect.
Oh, amazing. Hi, everybody. My name is Karen. I'm open to network, so I'm going to give you my LinkedIn right now on the chat box. And I'm working with a friend who's a food scientist and a marketeer. I have a lot of marketing experience in the food sector. And the company is about indulgent foods for vegan consumers. It's vegan indulgence food.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Karen.
You
Next up,
too.
I see Jeannie Ross. And you're just on mute. Sorry.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jeannie. In the new year, I will be opening up a farmer's market stand in my small city, importing, well, I won't be importing, but using a distributor out of Calgary, Alberta to sell hopefully Canadian-based cheese in a cut-to-order cheese counter.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jeannie. Next up, I see Anu, which I think we met last week at another session. So it's nice to see you today. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, Miriam and everybody. Nice to see you all. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Anu, based out of Halifax, Nova Scotia. My company is Blue Nose Probiotics. I have developed a plant-based, sugar-free probiotic beverage, which I'm hoping is more inclusive and can cater to a wider audience. My intention with the product is really to improve gut health. That's my primary focus. And I'm really excited to learn from everybody here today.
Thank you so much, Anu. Next up, I see Christy Bannon, and you look busy, but if you'd like to introduce yourself, definitely feel free to do so.
Hi, I'm Christy Bannon. I own Mum's Pie in Kitchener, Ontario. We've been open for about 18 months. I started selling pies out of my house, and now I have a brick and mortar, hence why I can't stop. I'm going to listen though, but I'll be working throughout this. And I always like to get other perspectives from other people. So I like to hear about people's journeys. So that's what I'd like to get out of this.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Christy, and congrats on your new location. That's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Perfect. Next up, I see. Sorry, my screen is in the way. I think it's Agnes. You can go next if you'd like.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm based. I live in Manitoba, but my company is registered in Calgary, called WWS. Incorporation, and we are linked very much with European startups. Our cooperators, that's why I'm here today, are from biotechnology. and they are considering to have some kind of activity in Canada. We are not decided yet in which province. That's why it's very interesting to hear today's conversation. And we are very open for any kind of cooperation regarding soft landing the European startups in Canada.
Amazing. That's so cool.
And of course, if someone is interested in how to soft land in Europe, this is what we can do and where we can support, because we are, I'm from Europe. I've just in Canada like almost 9 months. So our connection in Europe are very, very good and broad. So please feel free to contact. I will give you my LinkedIn contact in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you. And yeah, for anyone just joining, definitely feel free to use the chat to drop your LinkedIn and stay connected with each other. Awesome. Next up, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Juhi.
Hi. Yeah, that was correct.
Awesome. How's it going?
Good. How are you? I'm based out of Lucan, Ontario, so a small town just a little north of London. And I recently started Trust Me Auntie. We launched at the end of August, and we do instant Indian food and spice blends to have dinner ready in 30 minutes or less with 3 ingredients or less. So I kind of like to call it the cake mix of Indian food. So it makes Indian food super easy and accessible to make at home.
That sounds so amazing and something that I would definitely love to check out. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Next up, I see Manuela.
Such a pleasure to be here. Thank you, everyone. So I'm Manuela. I'm from Ottawa, and I just started a company, and my first product is a protein shake enhanced for stress resilience and cognitive performance. What I would love to discover in this beautiful group is someone who is interested in even accountability, an accountability partner, or someone who has experience with creating supplements or similar food products. But I would absolutely love if someone is open to, linking arms and supporting one another on our journeys, entrepreneurial journeys. I will drop my contacts in a chat too. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And again, I'm not sure what your name is, but your Zoom name here is YK. I see your camera is on. If you'd like to introduce yourself, you can unmute. And please let us know if there's any tech help that you need, and I can definitely try and assist. Anyone else that would like to introduce yourselves, you can maybe raise your hand, come off of microphone if you're not feeling being on camera today.
I could go. Oh.
Yeah. Hi, how's it going?
Good. I see Premi, and I think I know her, and I think her hand was up before me. So I don't know. Premi, do you want to go?
Oh, sorry, I got mixed up because of my screen. Sorry. Yeah.
No, you can go ahead. I'm fine.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's put on my camera.
How's it going today?
Good. My name is Cherie Aluko, and I am the owner of REAP Business Solutions. I'm based in Edmonton. I've been to a few of these events. The business that I do is business planning consultancy, as well as helping clients to write their business plans who find it to be overwhelming, or if they don't have time to do it. I would love to connect with everyone if you are interested. So I'll put my information in the chat, and we can connect on social media.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Cherie. And then I've met you so many times, and I just want to confirm if it's Primi or Premi, but you can go ahead.
Hi, it's Primi. Hi, Cherie. Yeah.
Hi, nice to see you. Yeah.
I'm here. Hi everyone, I'm Primi. I don't know if I would like to show my face, but hang on a minute. I'm trying to grab myself a cup of coffee this morning. I'm Primi. I think I know a few people around here. I'm happy to be in this platform with Startup Canada. What we are currently building right now is we want to become the go-to partners for amazing businesses like the ones I've heard here so far, that's catering to special dietary needs. We would love to be the marketplace so that people have easy access and to this kind of products, especially for their health conditions. That's the biggest goal, is to be that comprehensive market from supplements to food, groceries, and retails. And we're taking one step at a time, and we're taking on initial listings. So if you'd be interested to know more about this marketplace that we're building called Silla Eats, we would love to collaborate with you. We're hoping to launch Q1 next year. I know it's always been postponed due to, you know, other constraints, but I would love to get to know more of you. So that's me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marnie. And I see we have a few more people joining, so I'll just kind of reiterate that we're just doing some quick attendee introductions. So if you're on camera and you'd like to introduce yourself, just let me know and you can go ahead. I'll still give another few seconds to see if anyone else wants to introduce themselves. Yeah, Jeannie, or I'm hoping I said that right.
Yes, you actually said it correctly. I realized there's also another Jeannie here, so I was a bit confused, but yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. It's definitely what we have. Like, it's a quite a big group. I'm surprised. Like, there's 41 people here and still people joining. So, quick introduction for myself. My name is Jeannie. I'm actually UX UI designer in like websites and application and like product design as well. So I work in tech. But I'm also celiac and lactose allergic. And this was condition that actually came about like 3 years in the past. So it's actually a bit recent, and I realized there's not much product for me out there in the market where I can just like grab a chip, or even like during my birthdays, like I actually have to figure out like what kind of cake to bake. So I really want to start a company that's more aligned with my specific interests, and as well as perhaps like going into like more specifically having a wide variety of gluten-free and as well as lactose-free products in East Asian target demography.
Amazing, that's so cool. Thank you so much, Jeannie. And then
Yeah, no
here is, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it right, Marinats.
Yes, hi. Hi, everybody. My name is Marinaz Rutsari. I am located in BC. I am the founder of Ava Innova, a consulting for food industry and food and drink industry in Canada. It's been more than 20 years I've been in this industry, and my company provides support to macro and early stage companies from concept to commercialization, and I would be more than happy to provide support to this beautiful group. Right now we have a offer for 30 minutes free consultation. I will drop you the link, and I hope to have the opportunity to help as many people as is possible. Thank you.
Amazing, thank you so much. And sorry, Allison, we're just kind of running out of time for the intros, but if you'd like to send a message into the chat to introduce yourself, that would be lovely. Okay, so I don't want to take up too much time ahead of the big discussion with our speakers, so I'll finally introduce our wonderful speakers for today. And before they head into their expert talks, just so that everyone is aware, you can you're definitely welcome to ask questions to the speakers today, either in the chat, or you can also raise your hand and we can have you ask it to the speakers yourself. So I'm very, very pleased to introduce our speakers for today. So first up, we have Jenna Goodhand, who is the CEO and owner of Cafézia. And she actually just won our Kitchener-Waterloo pop-up pitch competition that we had a few weeks ago. So nice to see you again. And we also have Marlis Benz, who is the head of resource development at Venturepark. So I will get started with Jenna, if you'd like to share your story.
Yeah, so first I just want to say that everyone did such a great job with their pitch. It was so succinct and clear, and like bravo to that. I can tell that people have done a really good job of like getting their words together there. And also it's so nice to be in a space of all women identifying people. It's so beautiful how almost every single business here is really heart-centered. It wants to help people. It comes from a place of like wanting to do good. And I just love that. So I'm really excited to be here today. As Mary mentioned, my name is Jenna Goodhand. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. From selling bracelets on the playground to having a cupcake business in university. And I've done a lot of different things. I grew a coaching business, I ran a co-working space, and now I find myself in food and beverage. And let me tell you, it is very different than any business I've ever had before, having consumer packaged goods, putting it out into the world and kind of having that disconnect and really needing to increase the volume and connection throughout wherever you decide to be located. So yeah, now I'm learning how to grow a business, which I'm learning is a lot more different than just being an entrepreneur. So if you have any questions around that mindset of business owner versus just entrepreneur, I'm happy to kind of delve in that with you. And I'm here to answer anything from the beginning stages of getting your product on a shelf to growing outside of your community and consumer fit. So ask all the questions. We have another expert. I'll let her introduce herself, but she also has a lot of experience that I think I'm going to take a lot from as well. So thanks, everybody, and I look forward to our chats today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jenna. And I'll pass it over to Marlis, our second speaker.
Great. Thanks, Miriam. And thanks everybody for joining today. And I really like this approach of connecting and giving people the chance to introduce themselves if they choose to. That's a great way to start the day. Absolutely. So, and thank you, Jenna, for sharing your story and being here today as well. So just a little bit about me. My background is actually in the food science, food safety world. I spent a number of years leading food product development for Canada Safeway before they joined the Sobeys family. And that involved working with a lot of different food manufacturers across North America. And then at the time, Safeway owned our own manufacturing actually in Western Canada. So working hands-on with our own food manufacturing facilities as well. So that was wonderful, wonderful time. And then I've moved on since then to had some time with a food startup company, a snack food startup company. And then 4 years now with Venturepark, and it's been an awesome experience. And so for me, it's been really special to be able to move from that big corporate world and taking learnings from that to connecting and supporting and being part of this startup founder community. And it's been really special, and I've learned a lot from everybody. And so my experience at Venturepark is I lead a program that we refer to as Concept to Market Sprint. And the focus of that program, I've done 11 cohorts of that now. The focus of that program has been to really help people who are in the food and beverage space identify what they need to know in the food world, because as Jenna has mentioned, is that there's so many unique things to the food industry. So the focus is not necessarily on the general business support, but really specific to that industry. Regarding that program, we don't have the next one scheduled right now. If anyone is interested in that program, it's not scheduled right now. My focus this last quarter has been on an event that we held called the Park Summit in Toronto. And that was really all about bringing those consumer packaged goods founders together in one space. And the limitation, of course, is that you have to be in the area to attend it. But we heard from so many people that there's so much benefit in being together. And that's what I think is great about this event today. And the other thing that we've got coming at Venturepark that I look forward to being able to have launched live in the upcoming weeks is what we're referring to as our Growth Hub. And it's a spot, free online platform. And our whole goal is to bring together those different consumer packaged goods resources that are out there in one place, have a place for community and connection as well. The other thing that we do at Venturepark is we have an accelerator program for companies that are scaled up. They've got some sales already, and they're wanting to go national. So I'm happy to answer questions about that program as well. So that's a little bit about me, my story, and Venturepark. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marlis. Yeah, so we are just about ready to head into our discussion. So I will I'll pass it over to Isabel Nolan, the Director of Programs here at Startup Canada, who will moderate the discussion. And just a reminder to anybody that feels comfortable to stay on camera and raise your hand if you have any questions for the speakers today. Over to you, Isabel.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Miriam. And hi, everyone. It's lovely to see you all. We've got got a great number of people in the room today. So thank you so much for all taking time out of your busy days to be here with us today. I'm very excited to delve into our conversation today with Jenna and Marlis. We do have quite a few questions drafted out. However, we are here for the attendees. So if you have any questions at all for our speakers, I will give priority to those. So you can either do that by coming on camera and asking yourself, or if you feel more comfortable putting into the Q&A box, and I can ask on your behalf as well. There's already been some great traction in the chat. Marlis, I think there was at least one alumni from Venturepark in the chat as well, so that's really great. And there's some people already know each other, so it is really wonderful to see all of that. And also, and you'll probably hear me say this a few times, but we do have our two speakers here today. However, everyone always has their own valuable insights and perspectives that others can learn from as well. So if you feel you have anything you'd like to share or add on to with our speakers as well, we also are very appreciative of that as well. So I guess to start off our conversation to both of our speakers, can you both maybe speak about the specific challenges as well as opportunities that Jenna, either you've faced as an entrepreneur, and Marlis, I know you're a previous founder in this space as well. What are some of these specific challenges and opportunities that entrepreneurs are facing within this space, and perhaps how did you overcome them? Jenna, maybe I'll pass to you first.
Sure. So one of the first ones was realizing that as a consumer myself, I had no idea what it costs to put a product on the shelf. I actually did my master's in global food politics, but that was very macro. And when I got down to the micro level of, getting coffee, processing it, packaging it, shipping it, all these things, and realizing that even before I got the coffee, there was sometimes upwards of 20 different hands that had touched this product. I realized this is why it's so expensive to buy consumer packaged goods. And I, as a consumer, never realized just what's happening kind of behind the scenes. So the first thing I found challenging was, picking a price I thought consumers would be okay to pay, knowing that I'm not a company that can do the scale that coffee that's been around for a long time has done. And then also remembering that I have to survive through this, and I have to pick a price that I can survive at, even if that means that it's slower to grow. And really recognizing that just because a company is selling millions of a product does not mean that they're millionaires. There's a lot of cost in the background. So that was the first challenge, was really, how am I going to sell this thing that I know costs this much? I'm not trying to take advantage of consumers and also survive at the same time and take care of my business. But the other one that was a challenge that has actually been the biggest opportunity for us was, I'm selling coffee. Coffee is, one of the most well-known bought products in the world. It's one of the top global traded products. And in the US alone, there's more than 13,000 coffee companies. So I'm not coming out with something new. I mean, it's new in that it's coffee that's different, but it's a very loud market. And so I knew that I wasn't going to be competing with the coffees that people are buying every day. Coffee is very habitual, right? So people tend to buy the same coffee every time they go to the grocery store. So I really had to think about, how am I going to be different? And it was exciting because I haven't talked about what my product is, but it's coffee infused with herbs. What the herbs do is they slow the release of caffeine so you don't absorb it all at once. And it lowers the acidity. So you can drink real coffee, it's caffeinated, but you don't get the jitters, the anxiety, the heartburn, the anxiety or the crash. So it's coffee that tastes better and feels better in your body. And so I was looking at what was the messaging around coffee at the time, and it was very go hard, stay up late, all of it, more energy, more energy, more energy. And I was like, okay, what if we went the other way? What if we decided to be like the anti-hustle coffee. And what was so exciting when I got on that idea was that is the roots of coffee culture. It's about taking some time to rest and connect and be in the moment. And so in that sort of like, I need to be different, I realized that I was actually going back to the part of why we love coffee as cultures around the world. And it just so happens that our product also has a slow effect because the caffeine is being released at a slower rate. So that was one of the challenges that turned into an opportunity that actually helped us to set ourselves apart from a very loud consumer market.
Fantastic. And I can attest to Jenna's coffee. I have been drinking it all morning, and for the past sort of week or so, she very kindly gave me a complimentary bag when we were in Kitchener-Waterloo. And it's no taste difference, but I'm definitely not getting those like jitters that I typically would with the amount of coffee I drink as well, Jenna. Marlis, how about yourself in terms of the challenges piece and overcoming them, but also the unique opportunities that are posed to entrepreneurs?
Thanks. So my frame of reference is different than Jenna's because I haven't started a food business, but I've connected with, through our Concept to Market Sprint program, connected directly with close to 200 different founders over the 11 cohorts now. And I see some real themes generally when I connect with those founders. And what I do see is that people are so excited and proud and committed to their amazing product ideas. And that's fantastic. And that's what you need to start. The roadblocks I think that come up often are some surprises about the unique aspects of the food and beverage industry. And some of those may seem, well, of course, that's obvious, but they really are roadblocks for some particular product categories. So for some product categories, like shelf life and expiry dates, make it really hard to scale up your business. For some product categories, food safety can be really complex. And for some product categories, you actually need some really high-tech equipment to make your product at a larger scale. And then for some, it's also, they're very labor intensive. People create these amazing products that might have, hand squeezed lemon juice or something, as an example, or toasted almonds, like making the product really special and great. But there's always that challenge. How are you going to turn that into a profitable product that can be made at larger production amounts? And so a common thing that I find when I'm talking to people in that early stage is that while they love their concept at the start, it can be challenging to evolve your product, pivot as you need to, because growing your production and your product can mean that your product concept needs to change a little bit. Mm-hmm. So those are kind of the general themes that I speak with people about. And the regulatory and food safety environment is challenging and a big learning for people who are new to the food industry, because it can be a bit of a tough surprise how many complicated regulations there are and how important it is and how technical the world of food safety can be once you're going at a larger scale. Mm. So, and the other thing I'll just throw in that is challenging for a lot of people is breaking into that physical, traditional grocery store landscape and understanding the nuances of that. It's not as easy as, here's my product, please sell it. So those are the general themes that I find come up with people who are new to the space and thinking, I want to bring my amazing product to the world. I've got an amazing product, but now I'm being faced with all of these roadblocks that I didn't actually realize I was going to be faced with. So that's what my goal is, to help people navigate, for sure.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Marlis. And let us know in the chat if any of the challenges or roadblocks that Jenna and Marlis just mentioned, if there is any questions around that you want to go into a little bit deeper. So Jenna, you mentioned, talking about trying to differentiate yourself from the coffee world as it is, and trying to show your value proposition and how you're sort of disrupting the classic narrative around what drinking coffee will sort of do to you. So can you talk to us a little bit more about creating that distinctive brand, any strategies that you use to differentiate your product from others on those sort of crowded shelves?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that took me a long time to do, even though mentors kept saying, go do this, was to actually go into the grocery stores and go to the shelves where my product would be, where all the coffee was, and see how are people already doing it. Because I knew that I needed to stand out in some capacity, because people weren't going to look for coffee with herbs because they don't know what that is. So the one challenge is it's not something that consumers were heading for unless they already knew it existed and they knew our brand. So I needed to have packaging that said, look at me. And so if you look at most coffee shelves, traditionally the packaging is black, white, or that brown craft bag. So I went with something else, and our packaging is very colorful. It's got sort of this like floral, like plant sort of like etiquette going to it. And so it pops out compared to the others, but it's still in a coffee bag. So it still says I'm coffee, but you might want to pick me up and look at it. The other thing is that I wanted it to feel like a gift. I wanted it to be something that someone could, maybe instead of bringing a nice bottle of wine to dinner, they'd bring them this fancy coffee. So I wanted it to look fancy from the beginning, to kind of stick out. And the other thing that I really thought about was, although like we're still in Canada, I do want to be a global brand. And so I wanted the colors and the patterns to speak to a lot of different cultures. So, we've had people from African countries, South American countries say like, this really reminds me of home, or other patterns in my life or colors. We've had people say, it looks very retro. So somehow we've been able to kind of create something that pops enough that someone will pick it up and say, oh, this is different. It's not just pretty. So that was a big strategy for me in a category that's very busy, right? And people are not really necessarily looking for something different. You really have to look different enough that they'll pick you up and give you the time.
Yeah. And you mentioned about the fact that coffee is a very habitual thing. Everyone has their favorite coffee shop to go to. Or I'm definitely a creature of habit. So if I find a coffee that I know I like, I'm probably gonna buy the same one again. So I'm sure there's also like storytelling strategies as well behind that of trying to entice people to who are coffee lovers, but they struggle with all those typical side effects that you get with coffee as well.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
oh, sorry, I was just going to add, yeah. So part of that, we've given out many thousands of sample bags of our coffee. And I've met people months later who have said, it's still in my cupboard. And I'm like, why is it still in your cupboard? And because it is, like, coffee is so important, and you don't want the first cup of your day to not be what you've been looking for. So for some people, the risk of trying a new coffee, even though it was free and it's there for them, it takes them a long time to get there. So doing demos, letting people put it in their mouth, try it, taste it, feel it. There's so many different ways you have to try and get the person to just give you a try to know that it tastes good, and that it's worth the investment, even if it was free in the first place.
No, absolutely. You got to change the customer behavior with these types of things. And Marlis, you talked a little bit about a lot of the roadblocks that you have witnessed, a lot of the entrepreneurs coming through Ventureparks. Can you talk a little bit more about what Venturepark does to help businesses within this space, and the strategies that you've implemented that you've kind of seen that are working time and time again for these businesses?
Sure, yeah. If you don't mind though, before, I'm just going to add to what Jenna said, because I love her comment about really getting out there and understanding the competitive landscape, because that is something that I talk about in Concept to Market when I communicate with my colleagues who run our accelerator program for companies that actually are selling across province and beyond. Often people just really haven't done as much deep analysis of what is for sale as they could do. Everyone's done some, absolutely, but there's always opportunity to do more and formalize it a little bit. And one thing that I like to remind people is that, you know, your potential consumer has done their own competitive analysis. It's not formal. They don't have it in an Excel spreadsheet or anything, but they've done it, right? And so they're looking at your product and they're thinking to themselves, why is it better? What makes it special? And why would I choose it? And so that's what I like to encourage brand owners to ask themselves as well. And so maybe it's with the product benefits, the product quality, and you need to be able to communicate that with your great packaging, which is what Jen has done. I looked at Jenna's product yesterday online, and that was my first thought, was that this is unique and this packaging is conveying that this is coffee, but it's special. The other thing I like to remind people is if you're wanting to get onto a retail shelf, that the brand owner or an investor that you're talking to has also done a competitive analysis and review. So you really need to know how to talk to the category manager at a retailer and or a potential investor, because they also have their own perspective. So the more deep your understanding of your competition, as well as the adjacent products that are similar to yours, it's just gonna help your business in so many ways. So we do really encourage people to do that. I know at Venturepark, we do that. We have a formal process of knowing all the resources that are out there, and always thinking to ourselves, how are we special? How are we unique? How are we adding value in addition to or above what's already out there to help early stage founders? And Jenna, your hand is up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something. You reminded me of something I heard that was really, really helpful, which was consumers are already solving their problem with something else. And if you can figure out what that is. So for me, I've got this product and it does all these things, but once I heard that they're solving it with something else. So what is that? Is it a different product, or are they just not drinking coffee? Is it dandelion root? Is it something like that? So as consumers, I loved what you said, Marlis, about they have their own database, right? We already are comparing all the time. So it's really figuring out, like, from a consumer lens, like, what have they been doing instead of buying your product? If you have something that's dairy-free, vegan, all gluten-free, all those things, have they just given up on pasta entirely, or is there something else they're doing instead? And so speaking to that has really changed how we actually connect with our consumers, and never stop doing this work. Like, never stop trying to figure out how to connect with the consumer, what's out there. Every single day, you know, there's hundreds of new products that might be in competition with you. Some of them might have found better ways to communicate what you're trying to communicate. So yeah, I just wanted to add that little angle as well.
Yeah, and the never stop is a great comment. And that, you know, that allows me to answer the question that Isabel had asked me about how Venturepark supports companies, because we've had our own experience of having to shift and change and pivot over recent years, because there are so many different resources available for early stage brands, and we want to be unique and special, right? So we don't have a physical product that we're selling, but we're still trying to do that, answer that same question, is how do we give value and how do we bring people to what we're wanting to provide? And so to answer your question, Isabel, I would say that one of the key things for the accelerator program, which is our key offering at Venturepark, I know that the team there has really evolved in the last 4 or 5 years from being educational type of a program to being more of a one-on-one program with one-on-one mentors that are brought in. And they're not volunteer mentors, they're like part of our team, they're on staff, they're executives in residence, and giving that customized connection, because that is what the team has heard that people want. They want information that supports where they are on their journey, and also that community, and feeling like they're part of a cohort. And I know that for the accelerator, that is really what they're trying to offer as their core offering. And when you say what kind of strategies have they given to different founders to help them? I would say that it depends on the founder, and it's really an attempt to have a customized support for everybody, because everybody is so different. And for me, in Concept to Market Sprint, I've coached so many companies and had so many quick, 1-hour calls, and everyone was so different. It's just amazing how every conversation is different. So I hope that answers that question. I wasn't really specific, but that was something that I know that our organization has learned how to evolve and meet the customers' needs over the last few years because of the changing landscape. There is so much out there right now that is free and available to early stage companies, that what we hear from companies is kind of overwhelming to navigate.
Absolutely, yeah, and I love your point about offering a more tailored experience to the founders that are engaging with you, because everyone's needs and challenges are going to be different, and different products obviously require different needs. So thank you so much for walking us through that. I'll reiterate again, if there's any questions at all, please feel free to add them into the Q&A box. You can also come on screen. If there's anything we've already talked about that you'd like us to maybe unpick more, or if it's a specific challenge to your business and you'd like to get some advice on it, please do feel free to share. So I guess we'll go into talking about the product development side of things and the innovation piece. So Jenna, I know your story is a little bit different to some founders, where you actually found the product and bought it and decided to build your company around it. So can you walk us through what that experience was like in starting in that way?
Yeah, absolutely. So someone made a joke the other day about, we talk about founders, and I found this company. So a lot of you started from nothing and you built something. I actually found something that existed, and then I bought it. So a few years ago, I had another business, but it had to close due to the pandemic. And I had just found this coffee that I could actually drink without getting the jitters. And the person at the time wasn't really up for entrepreneurship. They had just worked with scientists to create this product. And so I actually bought the company. And so I had the product ready. Everything was kind of developed, ready for market, but it wasn't really at market yet. So I had to figure out what's our strategy to get this into cupboards. I've just invested all this money into this company. I need it to start moving. And so I sort of jumped right into how do I get on shelves? And I do want to say that in the last 6 months, through a program I just did, we have this tendency to think that shelves are the place to go, but maybe they're not. They are a place to go, but it can be really hard depending, Marlis, has talked about a few things, but it's also very competitive. And there's lots of different places that you can take your product, because food and beverage are everywhere, right? So I just want to put that on the side if someone's considering doing something else than shelves, but that was my approach because I didn't know what else to do. And so in the beginning, I would identify where anybody was who might like my product. So yoga studios, wellness centers, retreats, mostly like women spaces where women would talk to me and I could share this exciting product I had. And then I would find out, where do they shop? So it was almost this like circular thing I would do, where I would find the space with the people and I would sample to them, and I would, convert some consumers, and then I would find out, where do they shop? And I would go to those stores and I would say, hey, there are people in your neighborhood who buy this product and they say they shop here, like, will you carry it? So even though the numbers weren't, hundreds of people at the time, it was still true. And that still gave me a chance to get on the shelf. The other strategy, which I don't know if it's a great strategy, but it did work for me, was honestly just asking people to take a chance on me. This wouldn't work with some of the larger grocery stores, but in the beginning, going to your local, small markets and saying, hey, I have this product. I really believe in it. I just need someone to take a chance on me. Can I put my product on your shelf? If it doesn't sell, I'll buy it back. And that was how I grew to the first 100 stores that we're in, was literally just, will you take a chance on me? I'll buy it back if it doesn't sell. And that gave me time to figure out, how do I get people to the store? Again, I don't know if Marlis is like, this is a terrible idea, or anyone else is like that, but I didn't know what else to do. I'd never been in this type of business. And so I would say, like, get creative with, how do you just get your product into someone's home, into their mouth? You know you have a good product and people just need to try it. Find whatever creative ways you can to do that, that are manageable and authentic and honest, as you grow. And then it just kind of feeds off of itself. Once I finally got my first like health food chain store, then I could go to a bigger one and say, this store took me, and it's moving here now. So, you know, I feel like I'm going way off the question, but I do want to just like encourage creative exploration, and that you don't have to do it the way that everyone's done it.
No, that's fantastic sentiment. And to your point, figuring out what works best for your product. And I think also with food and beverage, it is slightly different because people almost want to try it before they commit to it. So I think that was a fantastic strategy for you. Marlis, before I go on to you, there's someone in the chat, Jenna. Anu asked, and you answered half of their question, but they asked, my question is for Jenna. How did you figure out pricing initially and also getting to the market? So you obviously talked us through getting to the market. Can you talk a little bit about maybe your breakdown of how you figured out your pricing?
Yes. I hate to be the stereotype that women in business don't know numbers, but I am that woman and I'm still getting better at it. But I tried to price myself a little bit lower. I'm going to tell you that wasn't the right way to go. Instead of working backwards from, what does it actually cost me to make this? What do I actually make if I sell it at this price? What are the hidden costs that I'm not aware of? And so even though the product itself might cost, you know, let's just use random simple numbers, like $10 to make, and it sells for $20 at the store. As you're growing, you have to bake into that price, shipping, distributors, brokers, the store itself has to make some money. And so it's kind of been a back and forth of, I need this, I can't sell it for less than this. If I sell this product for less than this, then every product that I'm selling, I'm actually losing money on. What are my competitors or people in the category selling at? Because then I can kind of know what customers are willing to pay for it. But you do have to play with it for a little bit, but you don't want to go up. So if, for example, I could start by pricing it at $30, and then maybe I find ways to reduce the price, that's a better way to go than putting it out there at $10 and realizing I don't even cover my costs if I sell it at $10. And so I have no budget room, and I actually can't reduce what the global coffee prices are. So the advice I'd give you, which I would have given myself a few years ago, is really, really, really know your numbers. Play with all sorts of ways that it can go. The one strategy that's helped me actually is, some of you might be familiar with the term like gross margin, or the margin that you make on your product. So maybe every bag I sell at $20, I make $5 or something like that, if I sell it to grocery. But maybe if I sell it directly to consumer, I make $8. So you can actually have different channels that you sell your product, and the average margin works out better. So when I sell through a distributor that then goes to a grocery store, I'm making like pennies per bag. Like, it's not gonna pay me, but it does a lot more for the brand. It shows me that I'm out there and that I'm moving, and maybe in time I'll be able, with volume, to reduce that, or those pennies times millions will help me out. But right now, in the space that I'm in, there's actually a market going on. And so the margin we have on the bags we're selling right there are 56%, which is great. So you can kind of find ways to keep the same price that on average will help you continue to grow. Which I think I also will like come back on this later and say, stick to one thing. So
thank you, Jen. I know you have your hand up if you have anything to follow up with.
Yeah, this is a ongoing thing, pricing, and it's mind-boggling how difficult it is. I have been advised that to keep a 50% margin, because when the retailer sells it, they will up it 30% more to keep their margin. And if I don't do that, I won't have a business. And when I take all that into consideration, and God knows what else I have forgotten, I feel like the price has gone up than what I initially wanted to do, actually. So it's been so confusing as to when, like what should I choose? Like when I do my competitors analysis, I know what I'm comfortable with, right? But then when I see the real price, taking all this into account, it has gone over. Yeah, and so, and the other feedback that I received was that I need a minimum of 3 SKUs for any distributor to be interested in me and my product. So what has been your guys' experience?
I'm just going to add one more thing to this. Because we're in a group of women notoriously overextend themselves. They'll say, oh, yes, I'll go down on my price, or we're constantly adjusting ourselves to make us fit. And I think we need to stop that. I think we need to say, this is my price. This is the price. You can take this product and you can put it on your shelf, or I can't go lower than this, because other people that aren't like us, they do that. They know their price, they stick with it. There's been situations as I've tried to embody this, where I say I can't go lower than that, and then they say that's okay. I've had recently a couple partnerships where people offered services, and I said I can't pay $5,000. I can pay $500, and they took it. Like, I don't know if it was the way I was raised, the culture I live in, but I feel like as a woman, I have just not learned or felt comfortable saying, that's not going to work for me. And now that I'm doing it, I can't believe the amount of money I've saved, the yeses I've gotten when they said it was a no. So I want to just put that out there because I'm really excited to be able to, it's like, I feel like I just unlocked a world that like men live in, that I was like, oh, you can just ask for things. So there's that. And then just like the overextension of like, just trying to please people, just trying to make it work, no matter the sacrifice to yourself. So let's stop that. I'll just add that part.
Excellent.
Jenna, you're amazing. I just would like to add a couple of things. First of all, Jenna, I think it's so amazing that you shared your story about how you broke into the retail space. Selling online is a really great pathway for some people who have the right product, but some people don't have a product that really works online. Yours does, but a lot of people don't. And your journey of going to those local shops and just saying, please, here's a case of product, please list it, is something that I hear very commonly. You weren't unique or odd in that pathway at all. The pathway that I hear when I connect with people often is just doing that initial test, market testing, and refining their product at a farmer's market situation, if that is available to you. Lots of cities and regions, beautiful farmers markets don't exist. If you live in the GTA, if you live in Vancouver, you've got lots of options, right? But other places across Canada, that's not so readily available always. Your journey related to pricing is something that we hear commonly. And the thing that, in my view, is so hard about pricing is that there isn't a set list of 1 to 10 that everyone is supposed to follow, because there is a little bit of that gut instinct that needs to go into finding the right price. So you look at your competitors, you look at your cost of goods. And one thing I encourage people in the food industry is to really look closely to see how you can get economies of scale. So some people, like I mentioned before, are just really married to the fact that they have, I always use the example of, fresh lemon peel in their cookies, right? And I don't want people to feel like they need to drop their quality or take away their value proposition, but sometimes you really need to look and think, can you bring your production costs down and still have a special product? And that is really important when somebody is moving from their wonderful kitchen gourmet product to a product that they're scaling up. And that's a really common conversation I have with people. And the other thing that I've observed, not an expert in the pricing space, is that your cost of goods times 4 is the price that you sometimes can use as a guideline for at retail, because the retailer is going to want a margin on your product depending on the category. And that margin is going to range from 30 to 50%. And if you use a distributor, which most people eventually need to use, they're going to want up to 50%. So some people find that the traditional retailers is not a place for their product, actually, because their price would have to be so high. The other thing is that you don't get to pick your price at retail. You can pick what you sell to a distributor, but it shows up on those retail store shelves, and you can be quite surprised at what a retailer is charging for your product. You can't control it. So that's a challenge for brand owners also. So I don't have the magic solution for choosing price, but other than saying it is a very common challenge that and I know my colleagues hear all the time, is finding that right price. A general theme that I do hear is don't go too low. It's exactly like Jenna said, it's so hard to go up. There's always going to be some costs and some fees in the early days that might surprise you. And I'm sure that there's people on this call that also have had that journey as well. Absolutely.
Excellent advice. Thank you both for delving into that. And hopefully that's not just something for Anu to take away, but for a lot of our attendees here today. So we've got some really great questions coming in, which makes me very excited because I love when we get attendees questions. Shandal, I am hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. They've asked a question around certification, which I think it was one of my questions as well. Marlis, I'd love to talk to you about like certifications and regulations in general would be great. Shandal is wondering what certifications they would need to teach baking classes at either festivals or local schools in Ontario, if you are aware of anything.
Yeah, so I can't answer that one about teaching classes. So I apologize for that. Maybe somebody else in the chat has some experience there. I love seeing in the chat how people are connecting and with each other. I think that's amazing. I do feel like I saw in there somebody wanting to scale up their production. So I can just give like as short as I possibly can overview of those production regulations. So every province has its own provincial regulations. So whatever province you're in, know your provincial regulations for production. You need to meet those and you need to be inspected provincially. Every city, every province has a different approach for that. Then if you want to ship out of province, which a lot of people are striving to do, you actually need to meet a federal regulation as soon as you ship out of province. And that federal regulation is called the Safe Food for Canadian regulations. Those regulations that I just mentioned aren't related to labeling. They are related to manufacturing food safety controls at your manufacturing level. So I like to remind people that there's kind of two ways to look at regulations. There's your label, and then there's how you make your product. People can sometimes fly under the radar and not meet those regulations in the early days, but eventually it does become something that you need to follow for sure. When it comes to home processing, every province is different there as well. Some provinces allow you to make low food safety risk products in your home locations, and some don't. So I recommend people double check the rules for their province as well if they're producing in their home. So I think there was one question kind of related to that, how to grow and expand to a larger level. And that is generally what people need to pay attention to is your own provincial regulations and then those federal Safe Food for Canadian regulations if you're planning to ship out of province.
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, I believe Christy asked that question around that for their frozen pies. So Christy, I hope that
Can I ask one more question about that?
Yeah.
So is that if you are doing any wholesale sales whatsoever? So even if it's like the local grocery store down the street, or for
So
the
even if you're, so your provincial regulation, so are you in Ontario?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So OMAFRA publishes their Ontario food regulations, and it talks relatively generally. It's not, they're not very, if you haven't gone through them, they're not really onerous, actually. Then you probably are meeting them all already.
Yeah, I could not decipher when I looked at it.
Yeah, it's so, but if you've been provincially, you've been inspected by a public health inspector.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're inspecting you based on those regulations. That's their background, is that they're, so you are meeting those regulations to sell throughout your province right now.
Okay.
If you've been inspected by your public health inspector, you can sell throughout province. If you want to go out of province, it gets a lot more complicated.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe you're in your kitchen as well, which I love. You're like in action while listening in. Love it. All right. I think I've got all the questions that we've received so far. Oh no, sorry. Manuela is asking, and it's not directed at any specific speaker, tips for making contact or speaking with contract manufacturers in a way that comes across as credible and leads to better collaboration. So Jenna, Marlis, who would like to take this question on?
Yeah, maybe just some clarification, like, is this contracts for purchasing ingredients, packaging, anything?
Manuela, would you like to come on mic and maybe give us a little bit more background to your question? Yeah.
Yes. So the production of research and development of the actual product or new products. Let's say I don't want to stay with the same manufacturer for one product. How do I branch out, or how do I start a conversation?
Yeah.
I'm happy to go ahead.
Yeah, you might have more to say than me on this. I have found like asking people who have worked with people to be such a saving of time and money is, you know, oh, I saw you worked with this company. Like, what was your experience? If I don't know anybody, I'll ask the company if they can give me someone I can talk to. If they won't give me someone I can talk to, then I typically don't work with them. Like, I want to be able to talk to someone in my position who can say good things, have an honest conversation, what the best approach is. The other thing I would say is that depending on where you're at in your business, you will get no's at some points, but that doesn't mean it's a no forever. And that's one of the things I also want to leave people with, is just because a store says no, or the contract doesn't go through right now, it's just right now. They might just find out why it's not a good fit, change it if you think in the future it's a good fit. But this type of a business is just you just kind of have to like get to some landmarks before you can go to the next one. And conversations don't make quick decisions. I'm horrible for having done that. But really do your research, like listen to your gut. Does it feel good? Is this someone you want to be working with? If the initial conversations you feel like you're not comfortable speaking up for yourself, it's going to get harder. It doesn't get easier. People are always their best in your first conversations. So if the first conversation feels off, don't try to convince yourself that it's going to get better. Typically it doesn't. Not always, but usually people present themselves the best at first. So I hope that was helpful a little bit, but Marlis might have some better strategies there.
What a good life lesson, Jenna. That's awesome. I'm going to apply that to everything. I think probably Manuela, you're looking at, you have a product and you're wanting to find a food manufacturer to make it for you. And so some people refer to that as contract manufacturers. Sometimes it's called co-packers. Different words get used there. So it's kind of tricky sometimes. So a lot of companies, and this would have been different for Jenna because of her product type. A lot of companies start out with their prototype. Maybe it's in their kitchen. Maybe they're in a commercial shared kitchen. They're making the product themselves, right? And a lot of founders are doing that. And their goal is to find I use the term co-packer, find a co-packer to make the product for them. There's so many benefits to working with a co-packer. There's challenges, but there's benefits. And benefits really are that they usually have those economies of scale. They have those regulations in place, or they should, that I mentioned. So they also have, they might or should have lower costs of production, and they have expertise and they have capacity. So there's so many benefits to finding a co-packer to make your product. Now, there's a lot of challenges, and I find personally there's a lot of advice and blog posts out there that say, go find a co-packer and all your problems will be solved. But there's a lot of challenges with finding a co-packer to make your product. One is that there's not an entire ecosystem of co-packers out there just waiting to make your product for you. You have to find them. There's the biggest challenge. If you have a unique or special product, there isn't a co-packer ready to make your product, right? Because you're unique and special. That they're not you have to find somebody willing to figure out how to make your unique special product. So it's not that easy. And co-packers are running a business. And so they want you to come to them with a product that is already got strong sales or great potential for strong sales. They want you to come to them with excellent ingredient suppliers in place. They don't want to bring in some weird ingredient supplier into their facility. They want you to come to them with a product that has regulatory compliance in place. And if a brand owner comes to them, and they also want you to come to them ready to pay for minimum orders that are going to match their large scale equipment. Those are all really big challenges. The other thing to be aware of, and this aligns with what Jenna said, is that finding a co-packer, and now you've actually got a business partner that you're working with. And now they've got control of your quality, your production schedule. They're going to prioritize things the way they want to prioritize things. So you are leveraging their knowledge and their skills and their economies of scale and their contacts, but you are giving them some control of your business. So that is why working with a co-packer who shares your values and your communication style and your vision is so important. They might be able to make your product the way you want it made, but you want them to be somebody who's going to be a partner for you, because I've spoken with brand owners who say, in a bind, I'm out of stock, and it's my co-packer who's not making my product. And so you're really relying on them, even though they are an excellent way to scale up. So there's two sides to that. And so how do you approach them was your original question.
Yes.
And I would say that the way to approach them is to almost have a pitch ready. You need to pitch to them, right? Like co-packers, I've been a co-packer at a manufacturer, and people would come to us and we would say, you know what, we're not here to do all that work for this brand owner. They need to come to us with things ready. They need to come to us showing that it's going to be a good business partnership for us as a co-packer to work with them. So in a way, you need a pitch saying, I've got a product with great potential. I know how it's made. I've got these ingredient suppliers in place, or I'm willing to change my ingredient suppliers. And my minimum orders are the following. I'm willing to change my packaging if I need to. And just saying that you are willing to work with them. The questions that you would have for them, because you need to screen them at the very minimum, would be asking them what their minimum orders are, because it might be something that you just need to take off the table. Asking them what their approach to quality assurance is, what their approach to ingredient sourcing is, and their approach to regulatory compliance and food safety is as well. And then you can just screen them off the bat to see if they are going to be a good partner for you to trust. I would say that feel confident to reach out to anybody, much like Jenna said, right? Reach out. I mean, co-packers have people on staff and their job is to respond to the reach outs. So just say, hey, can I talk to you about this? And what do you want to know? And it just start that conversation, and don't be too shy. I mean, if you're reaching out to Frito-Lay to make your product, you might not get a response. But if you're reaching out to a local Canadian-based company and just say, I'd like to enter into this conversation with you, my gut instinct there is that most will respond to you, and they have received this question before. They might screen you. But you're not going to lose anything, and you can go back to them again a year later. Like Jenna said, you can go back and say, hey, now I have all this in place. Now, do you want to be a co-packer? Should we talk? So I hope that it's like a puzzle putting together and finding a co-packer. And the takeaway that I have for people often is that it's not a silver bullet solution finding a co-packer. There are complications that come with it, but the benefits of a co-packer are very significant for sure.
That is gold. Thank you so
Great.
much.
Oh, that's good.
So useful. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Marlis and Jenna, for going into depth with that question. All right, so we probably have time for one more question from our attendees, and this question is either from Parry or Liv. I don't know what name is correct. Their question is regarding concept to market. So they say they have their concept, but the wall that they're running into is how to approach investors to get the concept to market. So are there any programs or links to Canadian funding specific for the beverage/wellness beverage industry in this phase? From their own research, a lot of funding is for the product already, with sales looking to scale. So it looks like they're kind of looking at that more developmental approach. Jenna or Marlis, who would like to take this?
Yeah, I might not be too helpful, except that do you know how much money you need? So that's really important. Do you need $5,000? Do you need $50,000? Do you need $500,000? Is this something that you can take on yourself or with family and friends? Is there something that you can do to bring it to market without either giving up a part of your company or taking on large loans? Again, this is just my approach, but as long as I have been able to, I've tried to just do it with my own money. I do think a little bit differently about this now, and that I wish I'd used somebody else's money, but can you take it to market a little bit on your own, is the only question I'd have you consider if you haven't been thinking about it, and making sure you know how much money you need. You know, as business owners, we all need money. I need lots of money. You probably all need lots of money, but really sitting down and saying, like, what's a need that I have to get to the next level, and how much money is that? And again, you can always ask for more money, but I wouldn't take on more than you need. And really getting clear on, like, what is it and how is that amount of money going to actually pay back the people who you're borrowing from, as well as helping you to grow. So other than that, I don't have much.
Thanks, Jenna. Marlis, anything to add?
You know what I would add in there is that it is notoriously hard for a startup without a proof of concept to get government grants or to get funding. So much of the funding that's out there, in my observation, is for a company that's already at $500,000 or $1 million sales, and they're wanting to scale up from there. That there's definitely challenges there. One thing that I would say, though, is that looking kind of for those micro grants, those small grants, is a good way to try and support your journey. And there's a lot of ways you need to kind of be resourceful to stay in the know about those. Startup Canada has a great resource on their site that you guys have put on there, that link. I don't know if you can put that in your link, Isabel, but that list of resources that you guys have is really quite good. CFIN is great. I see people talking about CFIN. They actually have a funding finder in their Yodel platform now that I think is really, really important. The other thing that I will mention, if somebody is looking at needing some support in the technical space, to check out IRAP. They have some specific funding available to help people who are doing some actual innovation related to manufacturing. And if you're looking for any formulation support, there's a lot of great consultants out there for sure. But if you connect with some of the larger organizations, sometimes they do have funding available. And we've had people in our programs who've taken advantage of some of those fundings. So George Brown First Food Innovation Research Studio, they sometimes have funding available. If you get onto their newsletter, once in a while, they say, we've got funding to help people with R&D. Niagara College is also their Food and Beverage Innovation Center. It's also a great place to be in touch. They also link people to funding sometimes, not always, but sometimes. Another great place that I would suggest is being on the OMAFRA Food News Bulletin, regardless of what province that you're in. They do a great job of compiling some really great information that's happening in the industry across Canada. Even though it's being published by the Ontario provincial government, it has a very Canadian focus, and it's a really good newsletter to be subscribed to. I find it's actually one of the best. So it is really hard to find funding for those early stage startups for sure, but they do exist on occasion, and it's just really being connected to hear about them and being quick and on the draw to apply.
Brilliant.
And putting the time in to apply. It is never quick to apply for funding.
100%. Thank you so much. Miriam has put in all of the links that
Love it.
Marlis talked about as well. So if anyone is interested in that, we do have those shared in the chat. Anyone who's unable to save the chat or anything like that, we also will follow up with the full chat file afterwards as well. If there's any connections that you missed, and we do capture that all for you as well. Brilliant. All right, so we are now going to go on to our breakout room. So I think I'm passing it back over to Miriam. Well,